Man, Black African power. What's good? What's happening? A well-organized lie defeats a disorganized truth every time. Well, who we, man? Look, man, got a good one, man. You know I be doing the thing over there on Sarnetta Studios. Big up the Sarnetta Studios, man. We over there building that thing, making sure scientific literacy is in the atmosphere, putting it straight in their universe, man, to make sure we got this right, man. Y'all know I'm your host, Bobby Banger, man. Big up to everybody that's pounding the building, man. We got a good one, man. I'm gonna go ahead and play it. And we got the haters. But you know what we say about haters, man. You know what we say. You know exactly what we say. We say we don't hate. We just participate. Man, well, that was a good one, man. Couple hours, man, of it. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on, man. And you know, man, let me get it queued up. Let me get it queued up. All right, we got it queued up, man. All right, and so y'all said early Stone Age beliefs. Was there a high God? And this what happened when a damn Christian jumps in. This is a good one, man. So I mispronounced the word, man. The stratigraphic. All right. So in the presentation, I mispronounced the word. Damn, I'm mispronouncing. I mispronounced the word stratigraphic. I want to make sure I got that clear for y'all. Go ahead and crack the jokes now and get it the hell out the way. All right. Stratigraphic. That's the damn word. It's dealing with a strata. All right. You know, different layers. That's what they do when they dating fossils. It depends on what layer it's in. So the word is stratigraphic. So now let me cue it in. And this was a good one, man. God damn. Boy. Sometimes you gotta you gotta play the away games, man. When you play the away games, you can get right to it. All right, let me get this going, man. I know
toughest environment. Yeah, stay strong, don't cry. It's the toughest environment. Yeah, no handouts here. You have to earn your respect. And when you do, you make they ass regret. They call it the toughest, and the title is earned from the bridges we crossed and the lessons we learned. In a cool-blooded kingdom, a concrete cage. Muslim, Christian, Israelites step on the stage. I dare you, I dare you, I dare you, I dare you. In a cool-blooded kingdom. kingdom, Sonata created. H-O-K, where you can't fake it. The H-O-K is where you fight back. No room for error, no window attack. It's a masterclass, how you handle the heat. Where the pedigree is written on the concrete streets. Toughest environment, yeah, we know the score. Locked in on debate and asking for more. The H-O-K is the toughest environment. Enter at your own risk, it's the toughest environment. The H-O-K is the toughest environment. Stay strong, don't cry. It's the toughest environment. Yeah.
Black African power was good, was happening, well-organized lie. Defeats a disorganized truth every time. Woo-hoo-wee, man. Y'all already know what it is, man. It's God killing the house, man. Look, got a great topic today, man. Coming in peace, being cordial. So when I do my thing over here, man, if I decide to drop the link, get on there and be cordial. No need for howling, screaming, and running back and forth. It just don't make no sense to do it that way, all right? We just got to be willing to have a conversation, man. And I'm going to tell you this, based off what I understand, right? A lot of times, as our development as a people, as just human beings, period, we will argue past what we understand. We will argue through our ignorantly. Do it all the time. And we're all subjected to that because we're all subjected to the forces of nature. And that's part of who we are as Homo sapiens. And then when you add in the culture and you add in skin color and you add in imperialism and you add in all the factors that's got us here today, it's a wild conversation. And one of those wild conversations is actually claiming that, let me get this thing right here. Goodness gracious, man. First of all, man, I'd like to say hi to everybody in the chat, man. Everybody participating in the conversation and all the science deniers, all the believers, all the atheists, all the non-atheists, Gnostics, and everybody that's in earshot of the conversation should be willing to learn. When you stop trying to learn something, that's when you actually die, socially, mentally, and spiritually, if you believe in that. So this conversation has to be elevated at all times. Talking over each other is not an option. Cussing people out is no longer an option. That's when it put me in my best position to give out the information that I'm giving out. Most of y'all, most of the time, don't recognize that I sat in the same position as all of y'all. Everybody. We come in this thing with bright eyes, wanting to conquer the world. They lied to us. We all come in at the same space of trying to understand what reality is to us. In our families, most of us, we come in as Muslim, Christian, the Jews, most of us is Christian. That was the religion of the day. That was the religion that was part of the enslaving process. And then we'll get some Hebrews and everybody else make the statement, that's not true. It is true. Papist bulls created by Christians. If you do not have a Christian monarch, we can enslave you and bring you to Christ. These are the words that echo through colonialism. Craziest thing ever. And they followed that course. They drew the line down the map. It's called the demarcation line. All these things can be looked up. I'm trying to get this thing in order right here. Let me get this right. Let me see. All right. Man, and big up to Sarnetta allowing me to access the platform. And I want to shout out the pseudo killers in the community of skeptics, where we had these high-level conversations on science, where we do not allow people to deny science right in front of our faces. We do not have to be science deniers to understand science. You can keep your religion. I know I'm a person out here to tell you what to believe and what not to believe. I'm here to make a distinction between belief and knowing and knowledge. That's what I'm doing. So if you want to get up here and prove that you got a God that ain't that and stuff, man, that's on you, right? Have a wild conversation based off of that is not beneficial to me, because I don't care what God you believe in or how you pray to that God. For me, it's my development as a human being in the space of African Americans. If you own a new fad of being an FBA, and there's no shots, then that's what it is. But I'm comfortable with saying Black American or African American, but I don't got no problem against the brothers that want to claim themselves to be FBA. We're going to have conversations around that on here too. All right. We've had those conversations on pseudo killers, community skeptics, and we'll have these conversations here. I always felt like I'm best fit to have these conversations because I have experienced, from being religious minded, fighting against religion, coming into understanding scientific literacy. I did all that. And as y'all develop, y'all gonna go through all that. All I can tell y'all is don't get stuck. All right. So the conversation with Apostle the Ignorant has been transpiring. And he got it honest. He's already engulfed in religious thinking. That's okay. But when he tries to apply the religious thinking to scientific concepts and ideas, that is when the conversation takes an evil and wild turn. This is when the argument and the bickering goes back and forth. This is when emotions start to fly on both sides. And my thing is, if we don't overtalk each other, we allow each other to talk. You're saying, well, goddamn, Unc, well, you cut people, right? I'm cutting people off. Okay, so we turn over new leaf. We're not cutting each other off. Because I feel like the elevated conversation has to be done with elegance and grace. What I mean is, you cannot give a lecture. That's one of the problems. People get frustrated through lectures. Okay? The point is, make your point, have your point together, say it, right, in the confounds of conversation, not in lecture form, and we can back and forth. And that's what I'm looking for. If you got to come up here and talk me to death, then you really don't have nothing. You don't have to convince me. Make your points, make them strong and solid. So this thing between syphilis and the old world, the new world, that's very interesting. So I'm going to start off with that, and I want to end in the Stone Age and the belief in God. Just want to brush them up real quick, okay? So it is important to understand Stone Ages and all that, man. I see you, Stephen. The homie was good, man. Canaan, right? I see you. Revolutionary, I see you. They're in the building. Appreciate y'all sliding on through with clarity. So let me get this misconception. See, so there's a misconception. When we talk about syphilis in a complicated way you pronounce that daggone word, is very, very interesting. When we talking about syphilis and in the Americas and in Europe, there's some things, there's some concepts that one has to just understand, man. I promise you. Like, we're sitting there watching people read the Wikipedia article, and I always say, start with Wikipedia and end in high-level sources, Journal of Nature, Journal of Science. And it's because it takes a certain level of comprehension to comprehend any of those sources. So I want to try to make it as simple as possible. The problem is most of us don't understand how science is transmitted. or what we're actually listening to. So normally in an everyday basis, we have regular conversations, we're looking for the final answer. But the final answer theme is actually a religious theme, because religion offers up the final answer and everything. There's no room. You can't falsify it, meaning there's no room to falsify God. God can't be wrong, correct? There is a God, that's it. Can't falsify. There's no way to measure. There's no material that you can measure to say whether it is or whether it's not. And this is the origin of people's religion. It's based off of something you can't prove nor disprove. That puts a cap on the wisdom and knowledge. You can't just change a religion. You can't say we found an archaeological survey that really an archaeological survey that's where they post digs and information based off of experts surveying certain strata, that's the levels in the dirt on certain items and dating. You can't bring that in and say, you know what, Jesus Christ was really, it was his sister that was the daughter of God. And we got all the evidence right here. Man, they're going to kick you out the room. There's no room to change that. You can't say, well, okay, next example. Jesus Christ died on the cross. That's the standard. That's what makes the religion the religion. This man cheated death on the cross, right? Sacrificed by his father, right? Both from son and father, that get mixed up. But it's essentially saying that the Romans crucified him on the cross. If you was to find evidence in the whole written documentation of that particular time period and say, actually, right, he never made it to the arena to get crucified. He actually got ran over by a Roman chariot, and we actually found his body. We can see, we took x-rays, we see that the chest cavity was caved in, and it's identified as being a Roman chariot. We got the evidence. They're gonna look at you and call it heresy. You might die, right? No one's accepting that. Now, science is different. Although science is always resistant to new information, that's just part of it. But over time, that new information can get brought in based off of being tested rigorously over and over again. Things can change. So in science, we always speak in proximates, okay? We never speak in absolutes. This is where the issue came up with, quote unquote, apostle to ignorant. He's looking for a final answer. This is the answer. You got two hypotheses. He doesn't even understand what a hypothesis is. He doesn't even understand that when dealing with viruses and pandemics, right, you rarely find a scientific theory. They don't even deal with scientific theories in quote unquote immunology, dealing with pathogens, stuff like that. That's going to throw you, I told you, that's going to throw you out the box. If you're thinking it's not trained to understand scientific ideas and concepts, if your perception is not looking through the lens of science, you'll just think I'm crazy. You'll think you don't know what you're talking about, and I know. So for the last 20 years, as y'all see me develop in front of this damn camera, I've been trying to acclimate y'all to scientific ideas and scientific concepts, what a scientific theory is, what a scientific law is. Does a law usurp a theory? Does a theory usurp a law? Do it need to be a law? All that is pertinent to understand the conversations I have. So I want to make sure I slow it down. And having arguments around that, howling, screaming over talking people, it cheats the audience. Although you may not agree about what I'm talking about, you're getting cheated if you can't understand it. If you're in a college class, elementary class, high school class, you can't have a teacher teaching and the students arguing back and forth about stuff they barely know about. We don't get it. So I had to reorganize thoughts and just readjust how I want to get this thing out. Simple as that. All right. Gideon, I see you in there. Hey, always. Oh man. Okay, so we're gonna get this thing going, man. Big up to the building. Got 76,000 in here, man. And I'm gonna drop my Cash App too. I'm gonna pin that, all right? Because that's how we do around here. I'm gonna drop that too and go ahead and get something. All right, that's gonna go directly to help me do what I gotta do. Right? And so it's a great topic. Is there evidence for belief in God in the African Stone Age. Now, let me kind of let you into the back office of why I'm doing this. All right. I'm doing it because most religious people think that in the beginning, God created heaven and earth, right? That's fine. That's part of their mythology, right? And we think God was always there in the minds and in the hearts of the people. We think that. And based off of where we believe or what we believe in or what religious ideas we have accepted, we actually think that those people are the vanguard for bringing in or ushering in God. Like God picked these people and came through them and out of the mouths, right? People start to teach on that subject. The reason I teach evolutionary science is because it will allow you to approach the conversation differently. This is important. You have to be able to learn how to approach things differently. Do not be afraid. You know, we was brought over here enslaved, and those Africans, for them to endure, they couldn't be afraid. Can't show no fear. So as a religious person, you start to show fear when you resist scientific ideas. You start to show fear when you actually think that your God that you believe in needs to have science. God don't need science, y'all. As a believer, let me tell you, you're tripping if you think God needs science. God can do everything at all times. Omnipotent, omnipotent, and omnipresent. And everything at all times, all powerful, nothing come before God. So why would God need a thing that humans created for understanding their natural world? God wouldn't need that. So you actually show fear when you're trying to introduce scientific concepts in time periods where the thinking was not there yet. Now, why am I saying it? Because I'm saying things evolve. And I'm talking about evolution now, as far as biological evolution. I'm saying culture evolves, humans get better, humans may get worse in things, but we start to build upon things and we get to this point. The reason this particular conversation is important because I can clearly show you in the archaeological record, based off what humans were doing, I can show you how they would get you to the point of quote unquote monotheism. Because if they was dealing with monotheism, there are things we could see. No, there's a progression to monotheism, but why would it have to be a progression to monotheism? Because if it was just a God in one particular place and area, then it would have just been that. But we see humans work their way towards that. Now, for when I have these conversations, right, I'll continue to make it clear. When I say humans, I'm not just talking about Homo sapiens sapiens. See, that's another thing. You got Homo habilis, you got Homo neanderthal, Homo neanderthalis, Homo denisovans, Homo erectus. You have different types of humans that reside on Earth, sometimes at the same time, at which Homo sapiens sapiens is at the end, at the last line of it. There's no more humans left but us. Simple. So how is it that other ancient humans, not Homo sapiens sapiens, start to show trappings of burial practices, which you can even say, well, the burial practice because they was trying to deal with the afterlife. All right, bet. That's how you looking at it. How is it that ancient humans that predate Homo sapiens sapiens start to have certain symbols? If it was just that God came to Homo sapiens sapiens because Isaac and Jacob and Moses and they was Homo sapiens sapiens. But why is it that we see development in other human species of showing some type of endearment for burying their dead? What is the reasoning behind this? Why have they buried certain items? What is this? We can see that, and I'm gonna show y'all. All right. So we, this ain't a fight, man. This is serious. So I want to first start off with this. I want to kind of clear some things up. Okay. I want to talk about this particular conversation in terms of the consensus. I think it's important. Okay. Want to have this conversation in terms of the scientific consensus on the matter, okay? The origin of syphilis. Man, give me 1 second, all right? And I appreciate everybody in the chat, man. All right, let me get here. Man, Treponemium pallidum. Treponemium pallidum. Man, I got to get that pronunciation right. Treponemium pallidum. Now, I'm just going to say syphilis, man. Treponemium pallidum. Did I say that right? I think I did, man. Let me, I ain't shared the screen. Did I share the screen? Oh, hold on. Goodness gracious. Oh, man, I thought I was sharing the screen. I know y'all can't see the screen. Goodness, man, I ain't never had a problem. Oh, shoot. Treponemium pallidum. Treponemium pallidum. That's the correct pronunciation. I'm just going to say syphilis. I ain't even going to get me going through that today, man. Goodness gracious. That's a wild word. These are scientific words, though. All right. And so let's start off with what's the consensus? Why was it that there was not an understanding of this? All right. Why Apostle the ignorant couldn't get it? Because he was ignorant on how science conveys his ideas. When I say ignorant, I'm simply saying not know. He knows more about the biblical text and understanding how these ideas are conveyed in the scientific ideas. Now I can gig him on that. He was actually looking for an answer that's just like, that's what it is, but that's not how science works. And that's what most people get. Okay, scientific consensus on the origin of syphilis. This is 2026. Interdisciplinary synthesis. Okay, paleopathology, history, genomics. All right, talking about diseases, pathogens. It say current major positions on biomedical research. That the source at the bottom of the page. Schulerman, 2018. Clause, Journal of Nature. By the way, the access to these articles are free. Consensus answer. Okay, venereal syphilis originated in the Americas, introduced into Europe after the 1492. Rapid epidemic spread in the late 15th century Europe. So how do we get to talking about syphilis? Well, I was trying to convey the idea to FBA or anybody that thinks that there were Africans in pre-colonial Europe, okay, or pre-Columbus Europe. I was giving you an evolutionary answer to why that's not right, no matter what you say. Because Europeans and Africans, look on the map, had contact in the old world. They consider everything the old world until you get to the Americas. North America, South America is considered the new world because Homo sapiens had migrated to that area somewhere around 30 to 25,000 years ago, and they were separated from the rest of the human population to the point where there are unique genetic markers that only occur in North America. And so they developed diseases, epidemics that was not prevalent in the Americas. And then there were epidemics and diseases that was in America that was not prevalent in the old world. Remember, I'm saying the populations were split. They did not have contact for about 30,000 years. So there couldn't have been pre-colonial Africans or pre-Columbus Africans in the Americas. Because if that was so, they would have brought the antibodies with them. And in bringing the antibodies with them, like smallpox, right? They wouldn't have been decimated from it. That's how the conversation got started. That is a guaranteed checkmate piece in any of the conversations. Skin color is a different thing. It is. Total different thing. All right, let me keep moving. So that's how we got to this. Some kind of way it got separated. The biases on how you feel about white people got in the way. You feel one way and still be wrong on the information. You can think a person is one way, but the information that we're talking about is wrong. That's why we use the scientific method, so it kind of slow down your biases on anything. Our five senses will trick us. Now, let me keep going. Let me keep it very simple. So we see venereal syphilis originated in the Americas, introduced into Europe after 1492 rapid epidemic spread, okay, in the 15th century, Europe. Syphilis, I already pronounced it, I'm not gonna keep doing it, sexually transmitted, okay, treponema disease, distinct from Yars, Benjil, and Penta. Ancient DNA evidence. Still with the ancient DNA evidence. There was no ancient DNA evidence in 1492. That understanding had not developed until the 1900s, where they rediscovered Mendelian laws. Then they start talking about genes and DNA. Didn't even have an understanding of how biological life evolved, okay, in 1492. They didn't have it yet. So when they document the first recorded cases in Europe, this other information wasn't there yet. Hope y'all can understand that. So, pre-Columbian syphilis genomes recovered in the Americas, basal and sister lineages to modern syphilis. European strands are diverged, not ancestral. This is a very, very important point right here. Triponomal genomes, meaning the basal. When you see the word basal, that means the original, the foundation, the oldest. Okay, basal, the oldest. Sister, you know what a sister is? Like you got your sister, not you, but that's my sister lineages. So basal and sister lineages, watch this, of modern syphilis, European strands are diverged. You know what diverged? Like you diverge, meaning they break away from. They're not ancestral. When we say ancestral, we're saying like your mother, your father, your great-great-grandma, that's your ancestor. So they're not the basal. They break away from that. They are diverged, not ancestral. See how important the word diverge is in the sentence? It's slow, bro. The learning is slow. All right? I'm gonna try to speed it up so y'all don't just lose y'all way. Because we teaching, right? Max Planck contributions. Look up who Max Planck Institution is. Ancient pathogen genomes, reconstruction of prehistoric syphilis genomes, strong molecular support for American origin. Key word here, strong molecular support for American origin. Strong. Not speaking in absolutes. That's not how science works. And if you can't understand how science works, you're sitting there looking for, yes, that's what it is. That would be religious thinking. Yes, that's what it is. Jesus Christ died for your sins. Now, I keep using this example so you can see there's a difference there. Not knocking it, I'm saying it's a different way of thinking. Pathological evidence, clear. Treponemal lesions in pre-1492 American skeletons, diagnostic ambiguity in medieval European remains. No continuous European disease tradition. Okay? That's in skeletons in pre-1492. So before that, There's no continuing European disease like Rick. They can always document, yeah, it's here, it's here, it's here. It's not there. It just pops up out of nowhere. Historical epidemiology. Sudden occurrence. You know what an epidemic is, right? That's the study of epidemics, epidemiology. It says sudden occurrence in Europe, 1494 and 1496. This is clearly 4 or 5 years after contact with native populations in the Americas. Only take a couple months to get from Africa to Europe, right? So we're looking at what's plausible here. The first epidemic documented during Italian wars. So these are French troops that are fighting in the Italian wars. Okay, contact, no prior classical medieval description. So in classical times, they don't have a description of that. Yeah, I know there's some ideas out there that somebody gonna bring up, and we'll have to deal with that later on. All right, but right now we're cooking with hot grease. Okay, brief history of syphilis, historical emerging patterns reviewed. Harper, it's at the bottom of the slide. Look at the bottom of the slide, y'all can screenshot it and look it up. It's a rejected or minority view. So in science, you got rejected views and a minority views, meaning not the consensus, but a small amount. So apostle, the ignorant, he wants to lean towards the minimal amount, the majority. My fault. The minority amount. He wants to lean to that side. Why? Because it best fits his biases that he have against Europeans. That's not good for making a healthy decision on the proper data and how to see it. It's a pre-Columbian European origins, independent European evolution. These lack genomic support. Just that simple. It lacks genomic support. Didn't have no genomes back then in 1492. Didn't even know about it. They even put it there. How about that? Scientific synthesis. Syphilis diseases are ancient, and global venereal syphilis is a recent specialization. America equals ancestral reservoir. You know what a reservoir is? Like something that's holding. So in America, there's reservoirs for the syphilis. Okay, there's reservoirs there. All right, that you can that they can verify that. All right, let us move forward. All right, let's keep rocking. Conclusion: as of 2026, consensus supports an American origin. All right, Europe was secondary epidemic zone. So they're not denying that it was an epidemic in Europe, but they're simply saying that Europe was a secondary epidemic zone. That's important. And here's your selected peer review and institutional sources. Screenshot it, do your due diligence. Max Planck, Evolutionary Anthropology, 2024. Syphilis had its roots in the Americas. Okay? The origin and antiquity of syphilis revisited. An appraisal of the old world and pre-Columbian evidence for syphilis infection, American Journal, a physical anthropology. Not gonna read all of it, but Schulerman, okay, ancient genomes reveal a deep history of syphilis disease in the Americas, the Journal of Nature. So these are the sources, right? This is the conversation. So now, what would falsify? When we say something has to be falsifiable, we're talking about you have to be able to prove it wrong. That's why you can't prove God wrong or right. Can't prove it. It's unfalsifiable. But what would falsify the Columbian hypothesis? Now, it's another side. Now, it would take what? A securely dated 1492 old world genome. A Tepophona filiodum, subfiliodum. Okay? Securely dated, though. It would also take an ancient European or old world syphilis genome that are phylogenetically basal to the new strands. Ancient European or Old World, okay, genomes that are phylogenetically basal to New World strands. That's simple. They want to look, they need to have that. Ancient European or Old World, okay, that are basal to the New World strands. Remember, we don't have that, but that's what it would take to falsify when they say there is no basal genomes in Europe. But if they was to find that, it would falsify that. You say, okay, we would be cooking then. Okay, all right. You would have to have some kind of genomic continuity between medieval Europe, tapenomal genomes, and modern venereal syphilis. That has to be demonstrated. All right, we need demonstrated genetic continuity between medieval European, all right, syphilis genomes and modern venereal syphilis. They don't got that. Watch this. We would also need independent radiocarbon dating, confirming pre-Columbian context with no post-1492 contamination. Results can be contaminated. They don't have that. Replication across multiple sites and laboratories following established ancient DNA authentication criteria. So it would take multiple labs in different parts of the world, all right, to actually replicate the studies that they claim they have found. This is what it would take to falsify the pre-Columbian hypothesis, the Columbian hypothesis. So if you want to falsify the Columbian hypothesis, which says the origin of particular disease, you would have to be able to falsify that. This is how science works. And I hope that didn't complicate the whole thing. And I hope it didn't. All right. Now, while skeleton lesions alone are insufficient without genomes, they're just insufficient. And so some of y'all will pull up some of the documents, right? And y'all say, but wait a minute. Hold on one second, y'all. So treponemal disease, that's syphilis, right, produces overlapping skeleton lesions. Classical markers are not exclusive to venereal syphilis. Post-dispersal damage and pathology can mimic pathological changes. Radiocarbon dates may not be correct while disease, attribution remains incorrect. Ancient DNA provides, taxonomic resolution that skeleton morphology alone cannot. See, all this is important here. Screenshot, then read that, the source at the bottom, and read the source. All right. So let me read this chart real quick, and we can get out this framework. Let me see if I can get to the chart real fast. The verdict chart. Let me get you the verdict chart. Hold on. All right, so we got the verdict chart here. So Columbian, talking about the two hypotheses, Columbian versus pre-Columbian hypothesis on the origin of syphilis. The evidence, ancient DNA, Columbian hypothesis. Pre-1942 American genomes, basal lineages. Remember, we talk about basal, the oldest lineages. Now, pre-Columbian hypothesis, talking about the old world. No confirmed pre-1942 old world genomes. They don't have it. Remember, they need to have that to falsify the Columbian hypothesis. Okay? Phylogenetics. Okay? European strands are diverged. Remember we talked about that? Divide, my fault. They broke away from the basal. Look, no basal European clades. I'm going to say it again. There are no basal European clades. This is genetic evidence. It's not me. All right? Skeletal data matches American. Okay, what's this? Trypanosis. Am I saying it right? Hold on, I'm going to get this right. I don't want to mess this up. I'm going to get this right. Pronounce this correct for y'all. 1 second. Make sure we're pronouncing everything right. So we don't have no nitwit in the daggone thing, you know, just talking reckless, you know, and reckless, and that be the joke at times. So y'all have to get up here and have to do it. Let me pronounce this right. Let me see what the pronunciation is. Oh, let's see.
Treponematosis.
Treponinosis. Woo! Treponinosis. All right. Ambiguous, non-specific lesions, meaning they don't actually have it. It's non-specific. And pre-Columbian hypothesis. Historical record. Now, we see, with all this evidence, you got to have historical. So you can't just talk DNA without having the historical record behind it. All these things are at play. There are different lines of evidence that got to come together so you can get your answer and see which way you lean in. Columbian hypothesis. Sudden epidemic after 1492. Is this not what happened when Christopher Columbus come back? All of a sudden, there's a sudden epidemic. That's what the history says. That's when they talk about the recorded syphilis. That's part of history. And pre-Columbian hypothesis, no clear medieval descriptions. The verdict would be strong, they say evidence strongly favor Columbian hypothesis. This is how science reaches that. It doesn't mean it's final. There may be some evidence to come back to change all this, and I'll do a show and say, yo, it has changed. And this is where most people can't even handle it. They be like, what? Because we want to be stuck in religious thinking where the answer is just final, man. That's how we was raised, yo. Most of us wasn't raised in an environment that promoted scientific literacy. We was raised in an environment that promoted religious thinking, to have a belief in a particular deity. That's why you hear African Americans say proudly with their chest stuck out that the African is the most religious. The African Americans believe they believe harder than Christ. We're proud to say we're the most. We have the most beliefs. So probably check that and balance that out. But that's why the conversation is a wild conversation over where the origins of syphilis is. That's why it's wild, because people are arguing but don't understand what science is actually saying. Science ain't speaking in absolutes, man. So y'all gonna rewind this just to get to it, okay? So let's get on with our lecture, man. And you know I'm appreciating everybody in the building. Yes, I do. I certainly do. All right. And I'm gonna make sure. I will certainly make sure I drop the link to have a healthy conversation. I'm telling you, man, I'm not doing it, bro. I'm not doing that with y'all, man. I'm not. I can't let y'all get me like that, bro. I think Apostle's the last one. He's the last man standing on that, yo. Yeah, he's the last one on that. And I'm not letting nobody get me in that cypher no more. Scream, can't nobody hear, cuss him out. Yeah, then I gotta be on my best behavior because I'm representing the community of skeptics, man, and the pseudo killers, which is a brand that is dedicated to both scientific literacy. Big up to Dr. Oyama Yacht Conscious Ingenuity. If y'all ain't with that, y'all got to get with that. I do a show with her time to time. She has a healthy platform centered in African ideology. You know, I do the scientific show. Mine is centered in science and science literacy. Although Dr. Miyashi also promotes science and science literacy. All right, but her is lean more towards, it's not just one spot, but she's a Pan-African and and the ideology is there for her to do that. I'm not a Pan-African. I seek to see the world through the lenses of science. And although she also views the world through science, but like I said, you can have all other things connected to that. It's just, it is what it is. It's part of what make humans humans. It's part of what make us healthy. All right, so I dropped the Cash App, right? You think the material is where it's supposed to be, show some love. It's not, then don't worry about it. Right? And it wouldn't matter, then would it? All right, so it's there. Okay, so my next move is to get to the presentation of the day. Let me see if I can get through this. See if I can get through it real easy. And then, check this out. I want to make a point to some of the comments is in the chat. And so these are the areas where those who don't understand make their mistake and they stuck. And so, for instance, if we come to this question, we're going to use examples right here. For right here, this is a teacher moment. In a Flash TV says, science actually says it's still debated. Well, I hate to tell you that everything in science is debated. That's why it's not religion. I'm gonna say it again. Everything in science is, debated or debatable. I mean, what does that actually mean? Science doesn't speak in absolutes. That is the power and strength of science. That's the weakness in religion, because you can't keep debating it. You can have a debate about it, about different things, but you can't say that Jesus Christ did not die from your sins. You can argue that, and then you just change the whole religion. You cannot bring scientific evidence into the conversation and say, we finally found Jesus Christ's body. We've marked it off. We took him to the coroner. We recognized that his chest cavity was caved in. There were no holes in his hand. No holes, meaning he wasn't on the cross. He was running from the Roman officials and got ran over by a Roman chariot. We can see the wheel print in his chest cavity. It's cracked. The whole religion would crumble. But science doesn't crumble with more available data. Science does not crumble with more available data. It gets stronger because science is undefeated. Science can only be defeated by better science. And oh, by the way, he also made the comment that science, white people know everything. No, science doesn't postulate that it knows everything. It seeks to know and understand the natural phenomenon in the natural world. Man, boy, see, and if I can't get that fundamental idea across, then you're just stuck in the video game. Because like a video game, you got to get to the next level, right? A lot of people are stuck where they stuck at and can never get out the room. Because there's certain properties of science you have to understand to get out the damn room. It unlocks the next room. It's built on the last foundation, stacked on top of each other. So with statements like that mean you just stuck and you'll never get out. If you can't understand what I just said, you're just right there. You are. So we'll do a whole conversation about how is it that certain scientists still believe, right? There is a certain percentages of scientists in America that believe in God. Maybe about 50%, maybe. Let me check it. Don't hold me for it. But what we do understand, those who are at the academy, the highest levels of science, it goes down to about 12%. And then when you actually ask them, what do they believe? They don't believe in the walking across water. They don't believe in the came back from the dead. They just be like, man, I just believe in God. So don't get me started. It's all there. So maybe just say this: I just have a problem with white people. Then I'm like, all right, yeah, that's understandable. Well, okay, yeah, there you go. There you have it. Yeah, but don't argue against a human endeavor that all people, no matter what the color of their skin are participating. That's one of them flash points right there for y'all. That's one of them bookmark points. Yeah, that's how it's done. Okay. So what I want to talk about is there evidence for the belief in God, right? In the African Stone Age. All right, look up what the Stone Age is, like 2.5 million years, somewhere in that. The Stone Age. All right. Let me look it up to make sure we're sure. All right. Let's get the dates for the Stone Age. All right. So we ain't just tripping. On this show that I have, we're not afraid to look up stuff to be precise. Yeah, I remember coming into the community, bro, where you ain't look up nothing. I just say it. Just say it. Bobby Hemmings and them. Just say it. Yeah. And then you get mocked for looking up something. Go imagine that. All right, let's add another million onto it. 3.2 million years ago. 3.2. Let me get the exact. Let me see. Stone Age. Stone Age. There you go. Stone Age. Phew. Stone Age was the broad prehistoric period during which stone was widely used to make stone tools with an edge. It's a point of, let me see. Hold on, man. With points, my fault, and surfaces. It say the period lasted from roughly 3.4 million years and ended between 4,000 BCE to 2,000 BCE. There you go. Well, you know when man start working in metal. Iron, all right? Iron Age. We got the Iron Age where they working in the iron. All right, so let's move on. Let me get this right. Okay. So I'm gonna take you back. So I'm in the Stone Age, 3.4 million years. There are humans there, but they're not Homo sapiens sapien. Don't get that confused. Don't get confused when I use the word Homo sapien. All right, just don't. Big up to everybody, to the audience in the chat. Got 91,000 here, man. Y'all get used to me coming through here, doing my thing. Make sure y'all like and subscribe, man. We want to make sure we build the channel up, man. Keep it going. All right. Also, you know, I'm here and I'm representing the pseudo killers in the community, Skeptics. So y'all can go support that channel where we get into the you know, scientific thinking. All right, strictly that. Important. We deal with issues. We will be doing reaction videos on the pseudo killers, dealing with basic topics, just reacting to it, so y'all can see how people who look like you, who do not believe, react to certain things. See? And I know I get the order of non-belief is the white man thing. That's crazy. Y'all can't even determine. There's no way to determine who believes what for real, because it's baked like so. There's a resistance to people who don't believe. Right? Your family kind of ostracize you, push you out a little bit, push you to the margins. Oh, you don't believe? Oh man, looking at you a little crazy, right? You got to beat them up to make them respect that, right? All right, let me see if I can get this right. All right, this will take me about 5 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and let's say we'll go ahead and get right. We'll open up those lines. All right. We'll open up these lines and let y'all in. All right, have some fun and just discuss the topic, man. Show y'all support and non-support. You think I'm just a nut? Then say it. I ain't mad at you for that. All right. Okay, so we right here. All right. Is there evidence for belief in God in the African Stone Age? We are exploring the archaeological evidence in early symbolic and ritual behavior amongst Homo sapiens in Africa during the Stone Age. I gave you the time period when the Stone Age was. Now, the oldest finds for Homo sapiens is 350,000 years. That's the oldest. 350,000 years Morocco, that's archaic. Homo sapiens was another conversation. 260,000 in South Africa, that's Homo sapien sapien proper. 190,000 years at Omo Valley. Okay, so there seems to be, why it says, a pan-African origin of Homo sapiens sapiens developing on the continent of Africa in different spaces. Very interesting idea right there. Okay, the introduction. What counts as evidence? Understanding belief in God. Belief in God is a complex cultural concept when evaluating archaeological evidence. Researchers focus on specific questions that reveal, okay? All right, observable signs in human prehistory. So we want to look for signs, y'all, of what we can to see how people believed in these early time periods. Remember what I said earlier? It should already be there, fully intact. It should not be a thing that developed over time. We should already be at monotheism. If monotheism was the thing that humans did from the beginning, then we should be able to see it maybe. Or we may not see it these earliest time periods, right? But at least we should see it just go bloom out of nowhere. But guess what? That don't actually happen. Monotheism is probably one of the last things humans decided to do. I don't know if that's because God told them to switch up or what it was. But we do not see the one God popping up first. And that's an interesting point there. We can argue that. All right. Interpretive framework used by archaeologists. So they have to interpret the data. Okay. I'm going to say this again. And I know this is a place where people start howling and screaming. Oh man, they look at it. They interpret. Okay, can you hear me? Secure, stratigraphic context, and dating. Archaeologists rely on secure, stratigraphic, stratigraphic, god damn it. Stratigraphic. It's the strata. All right? Stratigraphic. That's how you say it crystal clear. Stratigraphic. Oh man. Boy, I tell you. Stratigraphic, like stratigraphy, man, I always get the words mixed up. God dang. Stratigraphic context. Damn. Dating to establish a timeline for artifacts and behaviors, allowing them to link cultural practices with specific periods in history. So we're talking about the strata or stratigraphic. We're talking about layers in the dirt. So if we talk about the Roman Empire, we can go to Rome right now, city of Rome right now. And as you walk down the street of Rome, it's 2026. But if you started to dig down, you would run into the Roman Empire. And this would represent another date. So remember, cities are built on top of cities, or villages or towns are built on top of each other. And you can dig down. The deeper you dig down, the older the artifact is. That's why we know Homo sapiens sapiens evolved over time, because you go down to a certain part and you don't even see Homo sapiens sapiens no more. You start to find more archaic things. Remember I talked about the archaic Homo sapiens sapiens at 350,000 years? And then I talked about Homo sapiens sapien, or just Homo sapien look just like you at 260,000 years. See how that older date is more archaic, but it's deeper in the layers. All right. Technological, and microscope analysis. All right. Technological and microscope analysis are essential for understanding, okay, the composition and production techniques for artifacts, revealing the insight, okay, into the capabilities and practices of early humans. So they're using tools like microscopes, certain technological advances to bring the picture full circle. Those people back then didn't have that. Wasn't nobody digging up no graves to find the bones. When they was writing biblical texts or religious texts, none of this was in the game. Else, trust me, it would have been different. It was all based off of beliefs. But I just want to introduce to you how science started to reach these ideas. Now, we're talking about the belief in God in the Stone Age, and we're trying to figure out what tools can we use to trying to see exactly what rituals, what they was doing. We're trying to bring this picture forward. The Bible can't do it, okay? Toponomic assessment. Toponomic assessment helps archaeologists understand the processes that affect organic remains after death, providing context to how burial practices and environmental conditions influence preservation. Cross-site patterning. Cross-site patterning indicates cultural traditions and practices that are consistent across different geographic locations. Basically, what they're saying is that there's a group of people here, a group of people there. Let's look at both sites. Let's see where cross-site pattern occurs, where these same patterns occur right here, so we know they had interaction with each other. Suggesting that behaviors are part of a broader cultural framework rather than isolated events. So the Bible is an isolated event amongst Hebrew traditions. In Palestine, it's isolated. It doesn't occur in the rest of the world, at least in the archaeological record. Y'all get that? See? Having one God is isolated in this particular area. Although we know Zoroastrianism is the first quote-unquote monotheist, strict to it. Then I know later on we'll try to make indigenous Africans monotheists and throw all that, well, they the angels and play the whole game, whatever, man. Whatever. Bloom-Bloff's cave engraving, pigment, and symbolic signaling. Now we talked about symbolic and thinking, right? Humans had to evolve this process biologically. So if anybody's been following me, I've been talking about Bloom-Bloff cave for years. I'm glad to have it on this show without people howling and screaming. What's the key archaeological site? Bloom-Bloff Cave, South Africa. Key site of the Middle Stone Age. Symbolism revealed early human cognitive complexity. Look it up. Through well-dated stratigraphy. The strata, the different levels, is well-dated. Where humans start to have, watch this, complex cognitive thinking skills. That means the brain has to evolve. Different mutations that is affected by radiation has to start to evolve. Natural selection takes place. And we start to see cognitive complex thinking. You don't just fall in the, like they say with Eve and Adam, they dove into fully thinking. That's not how it actually happened. It happened in a religious sense, but it didn't happen in a biological sense. And I'm trying to get y'all to see the difference. And you don't have to pit the two against each other. This can be your belief, but this can be your understanding. Engraved ochre evidence. Engraved ochre pieces show, okay, intricate genomic designs indicating a pattern engraving approach likely for symbolic communication amongst early Homo sapiens. This is the proof of the symbolic thinking, creating patterns. There's a time where humans aren't creating these patterns, and there's a time when they start to do it, and they can date that. Ochre processing and use. Ochre processing at Bloom-Bloff Cave show early humans, okay, curated pigments for social and ritual purposes. So this is the ochre is like a rock that they can easily crush up and use different colors and pigment and start to convey certain sophisticated ideas. Later on, this will lead to writing, ladies and gentlemen, but you don't just start reading and writing. You gotta start here. See how everything is predicated of what humans can assess and understand, and you'll take that to the next level and move up. It's like playing a video game. If you don't get past that stage, matter of fact, I'm gonna hit y'all with this. Science is like a daggone video game. What I mean is you go through different stages. If you keep getting killed at that daggone level 10, you don't move to level 11. The problem is in the conscious community, you keep dying at level 11. I'm trying to get you to the level of science. I'm trying to get you to understand. You keep dying at the damn level. And the only way you can move up is to what? It's to show accuracy and understanding that level to the point where you beat it. And if y'all can't beat that, you can't move forward. You'll keep arguing with me. You're going to say, I just think he's right. No, I'm just saying you got to get to the next level. Man, I think that was a damn good example right there. Almost finished though. Because I know y'all attention span get real short. Now, pigment use across the African Middle Stone Age. Widespread use of pigment use, particularly ochre, is prevalent across Africa and predate the emergence of clear figurative art. So you gotta have pigment use before you can get to figurative art. See, the step is a video game, conquer this level to get to the next level. The next level will be figurative art, but you can't just start making figures and stuff until you master the thing of creating pigment. When we say pigment, we mean color. Where do you get it from? How do you do it? It has to be widespread use before you move to clear figurative art. See how that works? Y'all thought people just popped up out of nowhere and started drawing figures, huh? That's not how it goes. The utilization of pigment goes beyond mere functionality and suggests deeper social and cultural meaning. Evidence for curation and selection, evidence for large ochre assemblages and the processing of these materials have been documented at various Middle Stone Age sites, indicating the level of curation and selection that points to initial use. Intentional use. So they was intentionally doing it. It wasn't luck, wasn't out of nowhere. They had moved, they had moved to the next step and was doing it, intentionally doing it over and over again. It takes a certain level of mental documentation at this point because they're not writing like that, right? Like you pass these skills on to your son to father, father to son, or mother to daughter, however you're doing it, they're passing this on and it's empirical because they're producing it over and over again. Cultural transmission of practices, cross-site, recurrence of ochre use across multiple locations emphasize the likelihood of cultural transmission, suggesting that these practices were not isolated incidents, but part of a broader cultural tradition. So it's a broader cultural tradition of processing these pigments that will later on be used in writing. But it's some stages before you can even get to writing. I'm showing you how you get to the stages. I'm showing you how religion kind of developed and how the belief in God developed. You just ain't pop up out of nowhere doing it. See? Very interesting. Comparative African evidence, ornaments, engraving, traditions, and burials. See, now we're introducing burials to this thing here. Now we've moved to the stage where we're starting to bury. See? Where ornaments, traditions of graving, shell, beads from Tofala. It says, this is the point I want to make. Let me stop right here for a minute. And I think this is an important part. You process rocks that will crumble up and produce pigments. But before you do that, some cognitive skills have to be there. Some imaginative skills got to be there. You get to that point. You start passing this on for generations. Then you move to beads and shells, perforated. Now, serious shells from Perpolak, 82,000 years ago. We can't even process how long 82,000 years are. humans barely recognize 100 years, y'all. Most of us don't live to 100 years. So when I say 82,000 years, you're not putting that in the framework. If I'm saying 82,000 years, people that believe in the biblical tradition only go back to around 600 BCE as far as being able to produce some written material. Okay, 200 BCE, but I said 82,000. There was no Bible in existence. There was nobody thinking about one. There was none of that at 82,000. Just processing shells for ornamentation, symbols. I want to put all this together for you. I want to show you how humans evolve their belief in God, and they ain't just pop up like that. And you can tell through their ornamentation, through their beads, through their ochre, through the paints and colors they presented. Later on, people in monotheism would look at this type of behavior and mock it, not knowing that out of this type of behavior ended up at monotheism, and there were steps to get to monotheism. Many gods, think about that. Okay? Engraved awkward eggshells, containers, okay? That full of rock shelter, South Africa, engraved orchid cells, 60,000 years ago, reflect early cultural identity and ornamentation standards. So now you engraving orchid cells, you putting symbols on it. Later on, we transition to writing. But if you ain't grabbing orchid shells and ornamentation and trying to put symbols and signs on it, you ain't even getting to the one God, because nothing pops up out of nowhere. Our thinking is pop up out of nowhere, but in reality, as we look at the archaeological record and dig down in the earth and the strata, we find that nothing is just popping up out of nowhere. So I don't know why people think humans just popped up out of nowhere. I don't know why you think the way you think right now just popped up out of nowhere. It took time. Certain mutations had to occur. Now, I know for some of us, the conversation is hard, but it got to be had in an environment where we ain't hollering, screaming, and arguing at each other and thinking each other to be a fool. Intentional burial at Panja Ya Sadi, East Africa, evidence of early intentional burial 78,000 years ago. Careful excavation, that's when they digging up stuff, of anatomical positing indicate a developed understanding of death and afterlife. So now at this point, at 78,000 years ago, they postulate that there's an understanding of death. Like, okay, this man is gone, he ain't coming back. Is there a life after death at this point? Having nothing to do with monotheism, having nothing to do with religions that's in the Iron Age and the Bronze Age, where they work in bronze, that's what they call the Bronze Age. Having nothing to do with that, but this is the early trappings of it. You see how it's starting to come together? It's a bits and pieces at a time development stage. This is the way science works. This is the way the world works. Nothing popping up out of nowhere. Even when you get a woman pregnant, you don't have sex with her, and the next day the baby is there. That's the way y'all be thinking. That would be religious thinking. Almost there, from symbolic culture to belief in God. What can we infer? Symbolic cognition prevails. Early Homo sapiens show symbolic cognition in rituals, reflecting diverse interpretations of their world rather than specific theology. They didn't have a theology yet. See, well, why did they just pop up? If the way the biblical text and the Quran say and all of the religious books say, then why would it have to develop? Why would we start out with a theology? Wouldn't God just give us a theology, y'all? Right? Rather than reflecting a diverse interpretation of the world. See? Yeah, we cook with high grease, absent of high God concepts. So in this time period, the record shows absence of a high God. The notion of high God or singular created deity cannot be firmly established from the archaeological record in the Stone Age. Such concepts are more often associated with later, more complex societies than had developed written traditions and organized religions. I'm going to say it again. Such concepts are more often associated with later, more complex societies that had developed written traditions and organized religion. So it seemed like when you develop a written tradition is when you start playing with the monotheism. Like I'm gonna say it like this: you would say the Egyptians was writing, the Sumerians was writing. Of course, they write first. But the question is, why didn't they develop a monotheistic tradition? Well, at the end of it, you'll start to see they'll start to come up like Akhenaten. He'll start to develop a monotheistic tradition. But it's in phases, y'all. That's my point of this conversation. It's in phases. See, this is the high level conversation. We can talk to somebody and say, yeah, to get to the high God, it happens in phases over time. So at least 250,000 years ago. Yeah, this is the conversation. This is why y'all lose when you come up here with the mumble jumble. Monotheism linked to later societies. Monotheism as a structured belief in a single deity emerges primarily, right, in literate societies. This indicates that early populations likely held varied and complex worldviews that could encompass multiple interpretations of existence, but these cannot be definitively linked to monotheistic beliefs. This indicates that early populations likely held very complex worldviews that could encompass multiple interpretations of existence. This is what I've been trying to tell y'all, but yet you get mad when I say I don't believe. Because I've worked on having an understanding. Almost done. Foundation for spiritual thought. The evidence indicates that early symbolic behaviors may provide a foundation for spiritual and supernatural concepts. Of course it do. These supernatural concepts, these spiritual concepts co-opted what has evolved in Homo sapiens sapiens, meaning we was already rigged for believing. And I always give the example of, if you're in the savannah and the high grass moves, there's no time for thinking about whether it's a predator or the wind. You just get up out of there. As you're walking down the trail and the leaves rattle, you don't step on those leaves, you jump. Because you may step on a snake and get bitten, and to get bitten in the Stone Age means instant death. There is no understanding of poisons and how to stop them. There is none of that. If you get eaten by a predator, if you get bit by a predator, infection, and you're dead. And so you believe, those that had belief that if something was trying to kill them lived longer than those who did not. Because they live longer to push their gene pool forward, to have babies that would take those genes, that would give rise to babies that would take those genes. Once you get eaten, your genes stop. You don't pass them on to the next generation. So, evidence indicates that early symbolic behavior may have provided a foundation of spiritual and supernatural concepts. See? Suggesting that some early human populations had worldviews, right, enriched by symbolism. This does not verify any specific belief in a God, but rather points to conditions that could support spiritual thought. Everything is in transition. Homo sapiens sapiens is in transition, and spiritual thought and belief in God is in transition. Hell, another 1,000 years from now, monotheism may be on its way out. Who knows? Conclusion. Let me open up the panel. While direct archaeological evidence of a belief in a God during the African Stone Age is absent, the available evidence strongly indicate the presence of symbolic behavior. Remember I talked about cognitive thinking? Such as engraving, ornamentation, pigment use, and rare instances of intentional burials. Rare evidence of intentional, that was rare, see? Intentional burials. These behaviors suggest a capacity for spiritual or supernatural interpretations, support the idea that early Homo sapiens in Africa engaged in complex symbolic cognition. Prior to those archaeological finds, they thought that actually occurred in Europe at about 35,000 years, like Shave Cave. That's a cave system, shave cave. They thought that's where a symbolic thought occurred. Now we know it was actually in Africa. These behaviors suggest that the capacity for spiritual or supernatural interpretation, supporting the idea that Homo sapiens in Africa engaged in complex symbolic cognition. Nevertheless, definitive theistic beliefs, including monotheism, cannot be conclusively established from the archaeological. Man, that's where we at, man. Yeah, we cooking with hot grease, man. See, that's how we supposed to do that, man. Let me read some of the super chats. Amara, what's going on, man? He says, all right, let me get this right first. Hold on. Goodness. Shoot. 1 second, man. I hate when you do this, bro. Man, how y'all feeling out there, man? I hope y'all enjoyed the little presentations, man. Y'all can take it back and hide it. Got 115,000 in the building, man. Y'all can take it back and hide it. Don't let nobody know you was looking at it. God damn, man. Why I hate when you do this, man. Why is this doing this, bro? I think it's actually something. Oh, I know how to get up out of that frame. Hold on. I got the trick. I'm gonna keep the trick in my head too. All right, right there. All right. He says, I disagree, but I respect this scholarship. Got it. Appreciate that donation right there, bro. Got it. All right. Santan. Appreciate that. All right. Man, peace. Black power, man. Darrell Robson. Big up to you, man. We drop that cash app, man. We'll get some odds to do the cash yappy. The cash yappy. We drop the cash yappy. Let me drop the link for anybody who want to jump on. All right, man. Man, yeah, I'm here, man. Sarnetta TV. Promoting science and science literacy, promoting the community skeptics, promoting the pseudo killers, man. We'll have in-depth conversations on this, and we'll continue to raise a level of understanding. Y'all gotta know, man, before we bulldoze through, why nobody talking about none of this, man. Whether you like it or not, whether you comprehend it, whether you get it or not, come on, man. Let's see. So let's read this. He will never hit the link, though. He says, see how old dudes be lying. Ankh wants us to find theology manuscripts on leather, parchments, laugh out loud, 50,000 years ago. First of all, I'm not ashamed of making it to the age that I've made it to, of 58. Quite proud of it. I already understand that you're a pseudo because you can't even comprehend what I just did for the people. You don't comprehend it at all. So I'm old. I don't want you to do nothing. I'm lying. I'm not asking. The conversation was, see, we don't got no parchment paper or parchment leather. We're writing on it at 160,000 or 78,000 years ago. You think I'm trying to ask for that? You just hating at that point because you couldn't have listened to what I was talking about. We was in the Stone Age archaeological record. We would not expect to find writing in the Stone Age. We would expect to find what we found. What I talked about was this would lead eventually to monotheism. Monotheism 350,000 years later. But since you don't want to learn or even comprehend, just stay right there. Stay right there with your hate. Because I'm not about to argue with you and act crazy over that because I never said none of what you said. You're not ready. You're stuck in the video game and you're stuck on level 3, bro. No, you're at level 1. You can't even get to 2. You're stuck. You keep dying. Man. Here we go again. Big old salute to Ankh and the pseudo killers squadron. Now it's appreciated. Thank you, bro. Yeah. I'm glad of that. Got the super chats rocking at this point. Appreciate that for real. So yeah, I ain't even talking about that, man. I'm gonna drop that link. Anybody want to get on and add to the discourse, man? When we talked. All right, man. Let me drop this link real quick and pause that right there. Let's see. What I want to do is I want to get. Let me do this real quick before we play that. I actually want to. Hey, Pastor Bennet, I'm gonna go ahead and send this to you. I feel like we can have a very constructive conversation on what just transpired without no whole lot of foolery. Right? Real fast. That's what I want to do. I want to make it a safe space for you. We can just get in real quick. Hold on. Let me look at this. Let me get this for you. Hold on 1 second. Let me do this. Here, put this, and I'm gonna drop this link. I'm gonna send the link. Let me see if we can get that. All right. Okay. All right. I do like this, that way you can jump on for a minute. There you go. Send it directly to you. And had an elevated conversation. One second. Hold up. Hold up, wait. Man, I supposed to be to do it quicker than that. But with Sunchild, the point is that the things that I brought out was what was evolving to what you would later on call spirituality, which would later on become what you would call religion. That was the point. That there has to be, humans have to be able to have the ability to imagine first. You don't just pop up imagining. Remember, it's all about evolution. Wait a minute. So that's your answer. Okay, but when you start to find certain symbolic things, and you find in the record that you thought it was 35,000 years, and you start seeing symbolism, and then you got to get to the point where you start to add meaning to the symbolism. You have to add meaning to the symbolism. That's all important. But this does not happen boom, boom, boom out of nowhere. That's not it. It's time, because we can go to the early hominids, my fault, or early humans, and we're not talking about Homo sapiens sapiens, because there's more than one human that lived on the planet Earth at one time. Okay, Icy God One, big up. Okay, that's another thing we got to get used to. We got to get used to understanding our environment based off of how science is actually talking to us. We can't just deny it. You can't go to a damn museum, look at the bones, and say they made that up. Then you stay in ignorance. No, bro. You listen. See, it's always the religions amongst us. That's why it's hard to have a conversation. Let me see. Yeah, they had meaning for their symbols. Knock it off. Yeah, but it was a time when there was no symbols, bro. You know what I mean? They don't just start off with symbols, man. The brain has to evolve to get to that point to develop symbolic thought. So Homo sapiens sapiens 350,000 years. You know what I'm saying? 260,000 years in South Africa, 190,000 years, Old Gorge, Omo Valley, 330,000 years in Morocco, archaic. You know what I'm saying? This is archaic human. They don't find all that, bro. Come on, man. Yeah, you gotta boss up, man. You gotta boss up, bro. You got to stop being afraid to learn something, man. Like being afraid to learn something is ridiculous. Yeah, yeah, come on, man. Don't be afraid, bro. Yeah, don't be afraid. At no point do you need to be afraid. At no point. Hold on, let me forward it. Down, 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 down. All right, here you go. Yeah, you're afraid, bro. They ain't had no, man, look, and they wasn't taking, remember I talked about, that's why reading is fundamental, but comprehension is boss. So I talked about processing plants where they process okra, right? You have to break that down. First, you got to be able to break that down to a point where it's in a form where you can mix some egg yolk or something with it. So you're thinking to even put a damn symbol on something for another person to see. First, got to get there, right? But that's a gradual process right there. It's all a gradual process. You just sitting in 2026 where you think stuff pop up out of nowhere. That's not how nothing happened. The car you drive today didn't start off in that form. So I'm telling you, humans had to first get to the point where, first of all, you got to learn to control the fire. Got to be able to handle fire, right? Cooking. Okay? And that's a chemical reaction. That's actually, like a chemical reaction. But they didn't know about that. They didn't understand what fire was. But you have to, even though you don't understand scientifically what it is, you know it's an important part of what you need. And after you get all that settled, right, you have to be able to have tools that will protect you. We find tools in the fossil record at 3.5 million, and this is not Homo sapiens sapien. This is Homo erectus. See? So all these things start to come together, and then we have a point where we start putting certain symbols on the cave walls. We don't know what they meant. You're attributing meaning to it. Then we get grave sites, but we find grave sites amongst Homo habiligansis. We find grave sites amongst Homo Neanderthal. Now, if you want to say that that's spirituality, all right, so now you got non-Homo sapiens sapiens practice spirituality. So what God was they praying to, if that's the way you want to play the game? I would play it that way. I just would be, as an intelligent person, would say that over time, humans started attributing, based off of the believing brain, okay, agency to different things that they thought affected their life. They didn't understand what the hell a volcano was. All they knew was the damn mountain blew up and it killed everybody that was close by. At that point, they attributed that to agency. Homo sapiens sapiens have hyperactive agency. You just see, you apply things to things. We do it in a conversation. Certain hand gestures, certain facial expressions, right? We make a guess on the theory of the brain. We add to it what we think you mean. That's what humans do. But this was the process that came over time. Wasn't out of nowhere. So spirituality developed slow over time. Just like science developed slowly over time. Right? And I can even get super slick for you. So once you get to the point where you done figured out how to draw a stick man, because you don't just, like kids draw stick men first. They don't draw a fully developed body. They draw a stick man first, right? Once you do that, all right, once you draw the stick man, hold on, then you can get into the point to learn the anatomy, which is the complex. Somebody got to die, and you got to pull the meat off of them and look at them. Oh, hell. Got to get all that down before you can start drawing like serious figures. Look at all the ancient cave walls. They ain't got no learn perspective and how to mold muscle and all that. How to do that ain't in the early cave thing, man. It's flat, boom. Yeah. So, where you at? I mean, but that, well, hell, why would you even understand that, yo? So then by the time spirituality starts to develop, then you have people doing it different ways all around the planet. People start doing these things a little bit different, right? They started adding a twist to it. They started deifying certain things depending on your environment. The water may be essential to you, right? Okay? Yeah, water may be essential. Think about that. And you deify the water. Now, Valley, it might be, it's life-giving. You don't know why, but you know you got to have it, and you deify that to make sure you remember that, to make sure you renovate it. You make sure you do that. Peace. Mr. Robinson. Yeah, this is all part of, but this is the learning process, bro. I ain't got to say this is not debated. You biblical, I don't know where you at. You don't even believe in the Bible. That's the nonsense part. You just want to talk. You feel you're in that phase where you can't get out. You can't, you're done. You can't move. You can't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the dung beetle, that was part of the deification process. It meant something. Things transform. And then they had the deities and the Greeks and you know what I'm saying? And then once you get, then there's another level where humans think they are sophisticated, and they start to have books, they writings, and then they not only have writings, they have a lineal history. The Egyptians didn't have a lineal history. The history started every time a new pharaoh come into it. These Asiatics, they developed the alphabet, our Egyptian signs. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna say the alphabet comes out of Nile Valley hieroglyphics. You start to see that formed in the Sinai Peninsula. Okay, it was almost like these teachers was trying to teach these Asiatics so they could make their God last forever. Because once it's in stone, it lasts forever. See, and so they developed the first alphabet there, and after developing later on down the line, as we go through time, then you'll find the monotheistic religions are starting to be written based off of book form. That's new in the world. Man, Pastor Bennet, how you doing, brother? You gotta unmute.
What up, man?
How you doing, man? How you doing, man? Good to have you slide through here.
Yeah, I just see you on. I said, what's Uncle up here talking about today?
Man, we just putting it forth, man, laying it down. What's on your mind? You've seen the presentation. What is your, where that put you at?
I caught a little bit of it in the middle. I think you were probably in the middle of it. About that question I was going to ask you. Now or later.
Go ahead. What's the question?
About what we was talking about on the phone.
All right, go ahead. Hit me.
Asking that. Okay. Because I don't want to take away from your thing. So you actually said something within your presentation, so it allowed me to ask you. So, but first I'll just get I would kind of pose to you first that it would seem like a category problem. It would almost seem logically impossible as to since you're an evolution guy, even if we went with the concept of religious evolution, it would seem that if you have a multiplicity of gods, polytheism, then that would have originated from the concept of the divine itself. So I don't see us going from an expansion to a singularity, rather a singularity to an expansion. So like the concept of the divine in and of itself, you have this divine agency would form prior to the divine agency itself. The multiplicity of gods would be formed from the concept of the monotheistic God. Even in the high God concept, there are lesser gods, but the lesser gods are formed from the high God. So I think there's a lot more evidence out there that we could touch on and go through where you would have to really dig deeper into how do you get the origination of the polytheism into monotheism. It would seem you would assert that, but nevertheless, you said in your presentation you brought up a man having sex with a woman. Now this is my question. That's what I'm saying. Is you sure you want this? I don't want to mess up your show. I don't know how much this really got to
Oh,
lead
what
into.
you say? No, because I never even finished the video. Go ahead.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So observable. Have you ever observed when we observe male and female having sexual relationships and then having a baby, you mentioned in your presentation that it doesn't just pop up as a process. The baby.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah, it's a development. Yep. The baby develops over a 10-month gestation period. Yep.
Okay. We've been able to observe that.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And in that observable process, we've only been able to observe men having, sexual relationships with a woman, that producing a baby. That baby is formed in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
It's birthed in an infant state and then matures from that infant state through a process of development of being taken care of, so on and so forth, correct?
Correct.
And we've never observed anything different.
No. Mm-hmm. Not with humans.
Okay. Have we observed anything different with what you may view as non-human?
Yeah. Yep. Non-mammals. I forget the name of it. Is it parthenogenesis? No, that's not. Damn. No, where actually there are certain not mammals, but like lizards and stuff like that. When the male species around or something like that, males could actually produce eggs and stuff that give birth. They've seen that. They have observed that, but not in mammals.
So
Get the word. I think it's parthenogenesis, not parthenogenesis. I think that's actually the word. Mm-hmm.
So let me be more specific, because when you say non-human,
non-mammals, mammals, period, mammals.
Okay, so when we talk about because you're an evolutionist, so when you talk about Homo sapiens sapien, what was before Homo sapiens sapien?
You got you would have more archaic humans like Homo neanderthals is older than Homo sapiens sapien. You had Homo erectus, Homo heidelbergensis. We think humans and Neanderthals diverged from Homo heidelbergensis.
So the Homo Neanderthal, right? If we start there, what is the observable? What is the observable view of reproduction?
The same way they had all the reproduction because humans mated with them, so they would have to have the same things. The fallopian tube, they're mammals, and mammals.
You said humans mated with them?
Yeah, humans mated with Homo neanderthal.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, they put a wrench in it, don't it? Monkey wrench.
I'm literally just asking right now. Okay, so we take that concept, they made it. So this would be males.
It's in the gene. It's in our gene pool. 1 to 4% of all non-Africans have this gene in them. And since we mix back with a non-African population, which don't mean African, it's just simply saying where the genes mutated at. We as African Americans also have small amounts of percentages of Neanderthal in our genes. So they didn't actually go nowhere. They literally got absorbed into Homo sapiens sapiens. Very interesting. But keep going. What's the question though?
We in it. We in it right now. We in it. Yeah. I'm just trying to find my way to get into the last part of it. So at the end of the day, you're saying the reproduction process is the same.
Yes.
So it would have had to be a male adult with a female adult to produce a child.
Yeah.
And that would come forth in their infant stage and then be developed through that natural process of being taken care of and so on and so forth.
Yeah, they call it development. That's not evolution right there. It's called development.
I know.
All right, go ahead.
That's why I'm using the word development. So now, how far does that go back?
Shoot,
I ain't trying to form you into an exact time.
No, that's fine. You can go back to at least Homo erectus. Probably go back to 3.5 million years. How about this? Chimpanzees have sex the same way as humans have, and they split chimpanzees and humans split 7 million years ago.
But don't take me to the chimpanzees, because that's so I don't get confused. Unless you feel we come from them. If you don't feel we come from them,
No, we
ultimately,
split. No. Chimpanzees and humans, they split. So humans don't come from chimpanzees.
okay,
Whatever it was, they went in two different directions that evolved through its environment.
okay,
One gave rise to chimpanzees,
Mhm.
and one gave rise to humans.
right.
See?
So I'm standing in the gap of the ones that gave rise to humans. The
Why not
reason,
just say primates? Why not say because primates are mammals and they have sex the same way?
okay,
All
cool.
the parts are the same.
Okay,
Penis, vagina, fallopian tube, eggs, all that's the same. That's why we all categorize. They see in color, right? They have the flat faces, all of us. That's why they say we apes, and apes are mammals. They have sex the same way. No
okay.
different.
Okay, so then we call them primates. So you just answered basically. So I can stop there and let's go further. So you basically answered, no matter how far you go back within that primate stage, we're looking at the same functionalities of reproduction.
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
and the same development from infancy to adulthood.
Now that's what is different because now you deal with developmental genes. They develop differently.
No, I'm not talking about the how. I'm talking about however far we go back to the primate, the reproduction stage is being the same as far as saying, right? The sexual thing that has to
except for the developmental regulatory genes. That's the difference. The way they develop is different.
But it's still when I say
Small.
development, I'm focusing more in that they would develop from infant to whatever.
Yeah, they see. Yep. Yep. They had the infants, but the infants come out smarter than humans do.
Okay, so that's not eternal.
What you mean eternal?
There's a beginning to those primates.
It's a starting point. Huh?
Okay, then here's my ultimate question. Based on
what, you can see it in a strata.
Huh?
You can see it in the strata. It's a gradual thing. Nothing just popping up. Nothing seems to work that way. You get keep. Mm-hmm.
So here's my question. So since nothing just pops up, and you was kind of dealing with that in your presentation, since nothing just pops up, it's a gradual thing.
Yeah. If God don't even pop up. You get it? It don't just all of a sudden you see people praying and worshiping God. It don't happen that way.
Okay. So I'm glad you said that. So then explain to me how the first two primates who had sexual, and let's just say it like this for now, intercourse to produce what was that infant. If it doesn't just pop up,
right,
then how did the first two that had that sexual intercourse come to be if we know that the process you just ran me through was adult to infancy, not infancy to adult? It's adult having the sexual union, producing the infant that grows. Right. So then how, if nothing just pops up, they're not eternal. So how did the first two primates not begin in an adult state in order to produce that infant? Do you understand my question?
Yeah. So now we got to go back. We got to go 40 million years. Okay. I can't even say the word. You go back to 40 million years, right? Is what they're calling the monkey, and everybody gonna mess this up. But it's 40 million years.
You have to get yourself in trouble.
No, I'm not. I don't even care if people don't. I don't care if people are stuck in the room. That's on them. I'm trying to get them out the damn room. Okay. And so if you go back to 40 million years, right, you have what they call a monkey. Okay. Then you got to go back farther than that. So let's go back to.
Wait. You said 40 million years you have a monkey?
You have a monkey 40 million years ago. 40 million years, though. Since everybody want to throw away the 40 million years and then say we monkeys, then I'm going to have to get slick and say, well, it's like a box inside of a box inside of a box, right? You never actually leave that. That's it. You are suppository of everything that you quote unquote evolved from. Simple as that. We haven't even gotten to asexual yet. That's on the screen. Somebody say asexual, but that's different. That's when you start to get the cells and stuff like that. but as far as the monkey, then you can go. I can't even think of the name. I could pull it up, but that comes from that. But it's a mammal though. Watch this. It's a mammal though, and that's the way mammals have sex, no matter what. Whales, all that, right? The male whale has a penis and the vagina. It's all the same, right? And you just keep going back, okay? But you're going to be at a mammal. You get it? That's how mammals reproduce. Now you want to ask, okay, so what does a mammal come out of? A mammal definitely comes out of things that has a vertebrae because they're actually vertebrates. Remember, watch this. So what else is a vertebrae? Has a spinal cord. Fish do. So I can take you all the way back to the fish. We know for certain that what would later on 200 or 350 million years later would become a human. We understand that to be in the waters first as the fish. It's called the fish that does push-ups. It's in the record. It's right here. And this definitely has a spinal cord, right? And it walks on land. And how do we know it's all connected? Because it has the same appendages. It has a shoulder blade because it was able to come up. That's why they say the fish do push-ups. From the shoulder, watch this, Pastor Bennet. I'm gonna ask you this question. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat. That's tautolic, absolutely. But from your shoulder blade to your elbow, how many bones do you have?
Man, I don't know.
Yes, you do. Think about it. From your shoulder to your elbow, how many bones is there? Between your shoulder, your elbow, and your shoulder, how many bones is there? Huh?
One, two, one.
One. It's okay. One. Do you have any pets? Do you have any pets?
No, I don't have any, but Ankh, you running right now.
I'm not running. Hold on. I'm trying to show you.
You took me to a fish to ultimately tell me.
Because you took me. I might as well go ahead of you. Just let me say the point.
Okay.
So I'm telling you that the fish that I just showed you, from the shoulder to the elbow, has one bone. And from the elbow to the wrist, how many bones do you have? Two. Same with the fish. The same with your dog. The same with your cat. You know why? You know why it's so? Because they all have a common ancestor. And somewhere in their history, now I've taken you back to where it's no longer sex, where it's laying eggs now. I've taken you back to that. So this particular fish laid eggs. You get that? So I know that was your question. So I wanted to take you back to the point where what we evolved from at 350 million years actually laid eggs. And it came on land and it evolved on land. And we know that 350 million years ago, we came from that because males have testicles. But guess what? They also have hernias. But why do Homo sapiens sapiens have hernias? Because somewhere in the evolutionary process, 350 million years ago, as through time, as this fish starts to evolve 350 million years ago, we know if you cut open the fish now, because I'm giving you an answer. If you cut a fish open, the nuts of a fish is right there near his brain, right there. See, right there. And so over time, over 350 million years, as these nuts start to go down and will end up where they end up in us today, it weakens the stomach liner. That's how they know that the testicles at 350 million years, when you was that fish, was up here, and over that 350 million times, it weakened the stomach. That's why men have hernias, because the balls dropped. There you go. So that's your answer for the sex. It ended up being eggs being laid and fertilized. What's the next question? I didn't think I was running. I was actually thinking I was getting to it before you got there.
No. and the bug, now I gotta agree with my son in a minute, but here's what hilarious. Because you know pretty well, if we was on the phone, I would have been going in on you. I gotta respect you on your show. I gotta
go in on me. Go in. I'm cool. I'm gonna let you go. Go ahead.
Okay. So I didn't even want you to take me back to the fish, but you done took me to a doggone fish and then told me about
go back, move up. I move back to the move back. Yeah, okay.
The point of
go ahead.
The point of my initial question
was what?
Is when you were talking about that the ones producing the infant are in an adult stage or in a mature sexual stage to where
they got to be in a mature sexual stage.
Right. So let's say it like that. They have to be in a mature sexual stage in order to produce an infant.
Yes, that's right. Right.
And then from infancy we develop.
Right.
But
Yes.
infancy itself occurs from sexual maturity.
Yes. Whatever
So
that may look like. Go ahead.
right, whatever that may look like. So
Yeah.
even if we're talking about a fish, they would have to be of a sexual mature nature to produce eggs.
Lay those eggs and lay that fertilizer on the eggs. Yeah. Go ahead.
So the sexual mature thing comes before the eggs because the sexual mature thing produces the eggs.
No, the eggs come first. It's got to come out the eggs.
No. Something produces the eggs.
No, something no. Now, see, that's the cell. See that
Stop.
hold on.
Now you done recorded it. You done recorded it. Everybody, you said this fish, and you showed the fish.
Yeah, but you gotta go back before the fish now.
Okay, right. No, wait. But you said you was taking me to the fish. So now, if you want to go back before the fish, because what I'm saying is gonna make you take me before the fish. However,
yeah, I got you.
I'm just saying, if we just be honest to the conversation, you took me. Hold on.
Okay, go ahead. But your question, for me to answer your question, right? Listen.
Wait, hold on. Let me get it out. You took me from the human and then took me to the monkey and then said, I think you're trying to go back further than that, so let me take you to the fish. You showed the fish on the book. You start talking about the fish's bone, and you said this fish produced eggs on land.
Yeah, why did I do that, though?
No, but wait, listen. You said this fish produced eggs on land. Yeah. So the fish was of a sexual mature nature to produce eggs that was on land.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. That's what you told me.
Right? Animals lay eggs on like lizards.
I know, but
because lizards come out that first, right?
Nah, listen, I'm saying don't go the way you didn't go. You told me the fish lay eggs, bro.
A fish do lay eggs, don't they?
No, you told me this fish lay eggs, and whatever happens down the road when we get to humanity, ultimately it's centered from here.
No, that's humanity is centered in primates, bro.
Oh man!
so there's never. Hold on. No. I want to do this. I think I can do it better. Hold on. Okay. I want to let you know that there is never a time in the history of anthropoid apes where they did not come to sexual maturity to have kids. So we can't even put that in the story. That does not happen. That does not happen.
Say that part again. Say it again.
As there is not a time in anthropoid apes where the male and the female do not have to come into sexual. What we say?
Agreed.
Yeah, there's not a time when they got to be sexually. They got to be there when things are fully developed to have the sperm and all that stuff. So it's never a time in that. So that's why I took you back to a time prior to that, and then we would have to go back to like asexual, where cells divide. And it would, and then you would say the better question would be, but why did sex evolve?
No, that ain't my question. I ain't going there.
Okay, all right. Your question is
now. Take me before the fish.
Okay, you're saying there's never point where the child give birth to the grown up, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. There's never a time with that. No, not in when we're talking about animals. See, now we're talking about animals. Exactly. So let's stay in the category of animals.
Exactly. I'm with you.
These are animals. So there you go. Not in the history of the animals does that occur. I ain't gonna speak in absolutes because there might just be. Right. But I'm saying based off what I know right now. And I'll go dig in some more. But yes.
So then we're gonna pause because I gotta go get my son. We're gonna pause our discussion right here. And you go find me something that changes that. Because now when we get back on this phone,
we have to leave the animals though. Remember?
Huh? Say again?
We would have to leave the animal kingdom at this point.
You said we would have to do what?
We would have to leave the animal kingdom because there's a distinct reason.
Good. I'm ready to go wherever you want to go, as far back as you want to go to get to what you develop, so that you can eventually show me this occurring without that, what we're referring to now, and then showing it evolving into the form where now life is produced through that way.
Yeah. So sex, sex does predate animals, though.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. Because the reason I'm getting to the point that I'm getting to,
go ahead.
The reason I'm getting to let me take the fish example, because I'm asking for your position. We went from what we could observe.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm asking you now to give me your position on how we got up to this point. So you did good because you took me back to the fish. But the fish that you took me to was of a sexually mature to produce eggs. And you said that's what they produced, eggs, and then they had these eggs on land. So then you got to tell me when the fish produced the eggs on land, what were the eggs?
What was the eggs? What you mean? It
When the
contained
eggs developed, they were what?
It was fish.
Okay. On land though, right?
Yes.
And they evolved into what?
And over time,
yeah,
they would transition
uh-huh.
to then you get your lizards.
Okay, and then the lizards transition
to it because what I want to do is I want to get a great documentation to bring you all the way through that, so I don't make mistakes at this point.
Now, now we're gonna stop it right here. Then, to be fair to you, and I'm gonna be fair, so I'm not gonna be the ones on some gotcha stuff. No,
I don't care because to get me don't make me get it right.
Because because
I think it's nonsense though.
No, listen, because me and you have a relationship, so I ain't on that. I want you to go get the dot thing so you could leave me, because where we at right now is the fish had eggs, the eggs had lizards, and now you're gonna take me through.
I might be wrong about the lizard part. Let me hold that. That's tentative.
Okay. We're gonna stop right here because I gotta get my stuff.
Talking reptiles.
Okay, we're gonna pick it up, but you gotta show me. Right. You're gonna have to show me how it comes in to what now has to have this sexual relationship. So we gonna get there. But you see where we're going?
Yeah, I know, but let me say this. There's a
you got Aunt. You got 2 minutes to show me because I go get my son, but I'm gonna listen to you.
This will take me 20 seconds. A caveat to our whole conversation. There's a reason for why sex actually evolved. It evolved to keep pace with viruses.
Okay.
It evolved because viruses actually, they evolve, you know what I'm saying, and transform in hours. And so whatever was trying to destroy particular cells, right, the viruses, right, the cells actually incorporated some of the DNA from the viruses inside, and then sex is produced so it can replicate itself, so it can diversify the genes to get out of the way of the pathogens that's always diversifying and trying to kill it. And so sex came out of a strategy to be able to diversify the genes so it don't just get wiped out. That's the real reasoning behind sex. That's the real reason. We can end on that. So I think we was kind of.
Let me say this. Let me respond. Now we're gonna pick this up from you showing me from the fish. You said you was gonna have to relook.
We'll pick it up right there. Right there. That's a great. Now I got to change.
But I got to leave you with this. And now I 100% disagree with you about the sexual thing. I 100% disagree with you. But we're gonna pick it up from there. So you got me where we picking up.
Okay, wait. We have not went over our 2-minute mark for you because I know you got to go.
Man, it's true. I got to go get my son.
I know. It ain't been 2 minutes. I'm looking at the clock. Listen, we down to 30 seconds now. Let me say this to you.
Okay, go ahead.
Never forget this. This is a very important point to everybody listening.
Okay.
Evolution does not posit where life comes from. I'm going to say it one more time. Evolution does not tell you where life comes from. So, Pastor Bennet, you can simply say that your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
That's my man.
And I'm not even arguing with you. I just want to let you know. I wouldn't argue with you.
Hey, listen, y'all. Y'all don't understand me and Ank's relationship. Me and Ankh do this all the time. We be on the phone. So what Ankh just did, he just protected himself because he just digged a hole for himself with this crazy nonsense that he's positive. And so he's gonna try to hit me with the God of the gap. You know, I'm gonna get you back, Ankh.
No, I didn't, Pastor. No, because the third does not talk about where life comes from. We don't know.
I ain't saying nothing about where life comes. You telling me that the fish came out of the water lake?
Wait, I want to let you know that they do understand why life is called evolutionary theory. So they do understand how life diversifies on Earth. They just don't know where it came from. They're working on that. That's all. So they do understand everything that I'm telling you now. There may be a little a blurry area with the fish and all that, but I'm gonna clear all that up. I got it. It's easy work. It's not hard. All right.
Well, we're gonna work on it. I'll be back. If I don't get you today, you just hit me up and tell me when we at it again.
Yeah, I like the way you jumped on. That was a good one. I appreciate you. Damn, it was hard to get you on. But I'll bring you on. I'll just bring you on. That's how
All
we
right,
do it.
I got you,
Great
bro.
conversation, man.
I got you. Peace.
All right, peace. All right, that was a good one. I ain't even finished with the video. I wasn't even finished the video. I got to get up out of here, though, yo. I'll be back in about an hour or two, right? We're going to finish this. Big up to everybody in the chat. Let me read this. I'm not an expert. Pastor Bennet, welcome to the non-Christian Christian fan club. Yeah. Hey, Montoya, I'm live on the air, bro. I'm live on the air, man.
Okay, hey, come out to the event tonight.
Man, I'm gonna call. I'm gonna hit you back. I'm gonna hit you back, man. Hit you back. All right. Okay, listen, man. I'm out of here, man. I got to go, man. That was a good one. He came, man. Like sometimes you got to stop the flow, but that is the flow. I think we got everything in. And then we got the part 2 to the daggone video where the Christian jumps in and mess up the whole damn thing. Dang. So I want to take off that part because Pastor Bennet will think I'm talking about him. But Pastor Bennet, I could probably keep it there. I'm going to say, then this happened. Pastor Bennet jumps in. Yeah, I'll do that. Hold on. Let me put that in there. This is what happens when, I'm going to do that. Reverend Bennet. Yeah. We do that. All right, here we go. That was a good one, man. That's how I like that, man. I can appreciate a great conversation, yo. Win, lose, or draw, yo. That's a great conversation, yo. And so he was trying to figure out when is it when all of a sudden the fully mature animal, stop having sex. Very interesting. That's a good question. That stimulates our growth and development. It was wild, right? But that's a good one. You get to test your thing and you get to see where you at with it. And I'm appreciating that, man. Every time I can have a conversation with y'all, man, and we're not howling and screaming at each other, man, there's room for all of us to learn that. Because y'all know what? I see you. I see you all day, every day, man. Big up to Pastor Bennet, man, his ministries and what he does. I know he's a good father, man. And I know he do good goddamn business. That's what I do know. And it doesn't matter what he believes. We just trying to get him out the room. We're not trying to get him out the room of Christianity. We trying to get him to the next room to understand these conversations, so that he would know that evolution and believe in God. You know what I'm saying? There's no controversy there as long as you don't mix it. In his mind, he's kind of mixing it. He's kind of mixing it. He you know what I'm saying? He's kind of mixing it. That's what he's doing. All right. With that, yeah.